This is the Investor Connect podcast program. I'm Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of this show in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, family offices, private equity, and many other investors for early stage and growth companies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Interested in learning more about investing in startups, launching a new startup and need to raise funding? The Startup Funding Espresso is a daily podcast in a short, concise format delivered to your inbox every day, Monday through Friday. In the time it takes to drink an espresso, you can learn about startup funding. To subscribe, go to investorconnect.org and put your email into the pop-up box. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today I'm here with Reyn, Aubrey, CEO of PocketChange. PocketChange is a social media platform created to reverse the chaos created by social media 1.0. They do many things differently, including paying for a donation to charity every time someone posts, likes, or comments on something on the platform. They have reworked content moderation policy and have built a community culture that is good. They are launching the platform June 17th and have already raised money for angel investors and gotten press and influencer attention. Reyn, thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Hall.
So what was your background before founding PocketChange? What did you do before this?
Yeah, I was always entrepreneurial. I had done a couple of smaller ventures in high school, including a consumer products company that ended up outselling Walmart and Target on that specific product, and then decided to jump into PocketChange and a big business that was social.
And so what led you to start work in this space?
It was really seeing how much chaos was created by the existing social medias and believing that technology could be used, the same techniques that were used to make us all divided and hateful and all of this could actually be used to bring us back together and heal. And so that was sort of one of the original theses of PocketChange, was using technology to do good.
And so what's your advice for people investing in social media? What do you tell them to do before they write that check?
It's a great question. For me, it's all about, like most investing, it's all about investing in the jockey, right? Most social startups end up being a reflection of what the founder or leadership team are all about. You saw that with all the big ones, Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, Snap. And I think that that's really important. I think with the new generation of social startups like us, like Clubhouse, like Parler, you're seeing the culture of the platforms becoming reflections of the founding team. So my advice would really be to make sure that the founder and the founding team is in line with whatever the mission of the platform is.
So let's talk about the state of investing in social media. How do you see the industry evolving from here?
Yeah, it's a really interesting industry because it's been dominated for a long time by the existing players. And then over the last year, you've seen the explosions of Clubhouse, of Parler, even TikTok. It's a space where I think right now we're going through sort of a little bit of a revolution where people are realizing that what we've got isn't working and isn't good. And everyone is sort of searching for new platforms. So I think it's a really exciting space to be in. And I think that there's a lot of attention being brought on the space over the last 12 months and over the next 12 months, especially.
And so what is the growth rate of social media today? You hear about different segments and so forth, but what numbers do you have?
Yeah, overall, it's difficult to gauge because you have the existing major platforms who are growing at, between 3 and 10% year over year, but they're, massive platforms. And then you have explosions like Clubhouse who are growing thousands and thousands of percentages each month. So it's difficult. For the most part, you see a lot of smaller scale, a lot of things, slowly increasing. And then usually you reach an inflection point, there's a pop, and then the platform explodes.
Right. And then how many companies are engaged in social media work today?
In the social space, you probably have thousands of social platforms. If you narrow it down a little bit more to my specific space, which is sort of social next gen social platforms for good, there's about maybe really real ones doing it, maybe 15 or 20 in the space actively working on the exact same problem.
Well, great. And so let's talk about, the challenges in this space when somebody wants to do a social media platform. What are the hurdles they have to overcome?
It's the biggest hurdle is getting enough body heat on the platform. That's consistently one of the biggest challenges. Getting enough people on the platform where there's enough content being created and enough content there to consume, and then enough interaction going. So that's one of the biggest ones is getting that flywheel spinning, if you will. And then you also have a lot of the headwinds of people talking about how do you moderate content, how do you deal with disinformation, how do you deal with hate speech, how do you deal with increasing regulations from Apple and Google. So you have those kinds of headwinds, but those are kind of the big ones on the ground. Sort of tactically, it's all about the body heat, and then in terms of the larger business, it's all of the headwinds that the news and everyone is talking about right now.
So how does PocketChange fit into this landscape, and tell us more about it?
Absolutely. So PocketChange, like I said, is here to kind of reverse that chaos. We really feel that we've done a great job at addressing a lot of those points that I just mentioned. So, we have a brand new content moderation that does a really, really good job of moderating, what's hate speech, what's not. We're working on things like a context button to help work through disinformation that you get on a lot of other platforms. Where PocketChange sits in the industry is we sit sort of, if Parler's out on the edge of people looking for a new social platform, doing it in a really aggressive, tear everything down way. And, Facebook and Twitter sit on the much more conservative old school. PocketChange sort of sits in the middle. We think that there's room for improvement in the social space and major improvement. But we're not, the company that goes as far as, say anything, say everything. Let's rip it all apart. So that's sort of where we sit. We ride that line where the average person who thinks that social media can be more productive and more beneficial than it is, can come and actually find a community that agrees with them.
You talked about some of the challenges with, hate speech and other things and content. How does PocketChange manage that problem?
It's all about just like a culture of a company. It's all about, it starts at the top, and it's about all of the decisions you make from the top leadership team all the way down through to the smallest decision. So, PocketChange, for example, we've done a really good job of hiring the right people to make sure that everyone is in line with the mission that we're doing. Starts with the leadership team. Then we go through. So like I said, we've reworked content moderation. So we've started with guiding principles rather than sort of backing into things. So like one of our guiding principles is treat everyone with respect. It's something that everyone agrees to when they come to the platform, and it lends to a more productive dialogue. And it goes all the way down through, guiding principle. It goes down through the actual decisions that we make day to day on the content moderation, what actually does get removed, what doesn't get removed, all the way down to what our buttons say on our site. So like very, very small example, but our button says reply instead of comment. Saying comment lends people to more likely post something aggressive or mean because it's detached from human versus reply. You're replying to somebody. So we don't have enough time to dive into everything that we're doing. We could spend hours talking about it, but it's really, for us, it's a very integrated approach, a cohesive approach, top to bottom.
Where do you plan to take it in the future? What direction do you see it going, and where do you see it fitting into the community?
Yeah, we see as the existing social platforms, like Facebook and Twitter, as people start to get fed up with the things that they're doing with the data, with the toxicity of the platforms, we see a lot of those people starting to come over to PocketChange and find their new home on PocketChange. And so over the long term, we really see ourselves as the place where people can host the piece of their identity where they talk about things that are a little bit more meaningful. So on LinkedIn, you talk about your business persona, you have your business persona. On Facebook, perhaps it's your familial persona. Instagram maybe is your cool persona. We want PocketChange to be your cause persona, your what you care about persona. So long term, that's how we see PocketChange. We think there absolutely is a space for a staple in those major names, a place for people to host that very important piece of their identity. And we believe that PocketChange can be that company.
Great. Well, in the last few minutes that we have here, what else should we cover that we haven't?
I think the last thing I'll say is that the social space is is very hot right now. It's filled with lots of different companies attempting to solve the problems of that we've seen arise since the existing social platforms. And I would just say that in the companies that you're investing in the companies that you're looking at, make sure that they're actually thinking about all of the problems that have plagued Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We are in a society right now where people are really divided. People are really hurt. They're really struggling. And a social platform that ignores that, I think, is in a dangerous position because they're not facing the realities of, let's say Apple and Google's regulation of content on platforms and what free speech versus, hate speech, what that stuff looks like. So my only advice for looking at social platforms of today is that there's more criteria, I think, than just what are your user numbers like there was 10 years ago. So that would be the last thing I'd say.
Great. Well, how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
You can send me an email, Reyn, REYN @PocketChange.social, or you can follow me on PocketChange. My username is @Reyn.
Great. We'll put that in the show notes. I want to thank you for joining us today and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Thanks so much, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.